Good afternoon, colleagues. The Committee of the Whole is called to order. We're still waiting on administration officials to come down, the fiscal team, as well as public health, and we did ask also for Department of Labor to come over as well, but we'll see if they show up. The Committee of the Whole is now called to order. Materials for the Committee of the Whole are in the shared session Google Drive labeled Committee of the Whole. Proposed amendments must be submitted in writing to the clerk via email session@guamlegislature.gov. Rules of engagement. We will have one round of 10 minutes. One round for discussion, Bill 14S. We will have questions for the panel, which each senator will be allotted 10 minutes, not including responses. Please be reminded that if you yield your time, only one person can yield their time to any of your colleagues here at once. And once the yielded time is gone, it's given to that person, and it's for the entire time for that person allowed to speak. You will not be allowed for any questions in round one, and you'll only have discussions in the amendment round. After the completion of round one, panelists will be excused. Reminder that amendments will not be entertained until after the panel is dismissed. Round two amendments or final comments will be 5 minutes. Amendments not submitted in writing to the clerk and uploaded to the Google Drive folder prior to the start of the second round will be ruled out of order. After we complete discussion on the bill, I will then close and make a motion for recommendation in the Committee of the Whole, followed by a motion to rise from the Committee of the Whole, at which time I will report out the bill as recommended by the Committee of the Whole. We stand in recess until we get the administration officials here. The Committee of the Whole is back in session. Once again, I'm going to announce this round. We have all of our panel guests here now. So once again, we are on the first round. Questions with the panelists. Each senator is allotted 10 minutes. You have until the panels are dismissed to submit any floor amendments which you wish to propose. Amendments submitted after the dismissal will be considered out of order. Amendments must be submitted once again in writing to the clerk at session@guamlegislature.gov. Amendments will be processed in the order received, and any replacement is considered a new submission. Okay, when we are done with the discussion, the panelists will be excused. At this time, I'm going to ask
Mr. Chair.
Sergeant Arms. Yes.
Could we please, before we do the first round, ask Public Health to explain the situation to us?
Yes, actually, and they are going to, thank you for that. They are also going to have a request, so I'm going to have them open with another, they have the request that they have so that there's not you have the chance to ask questions about that request, but I will give them an opening to explain what's actually going on. That's no problem. Okay, Sarge, can you swear in the panel?
Please rise and raise your right hand. Under penalty of perjury, do you affirm that any and all information you provide today, whether it be verbally, electronically, and in writing, be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Okay, Mr. Chair, under oath, you may proceed.
Okay, Senators, we will begin with an opening. I believe Senator Shelton, welcome back to your house as well. We'll open, and then now as a request, Senator, from the body is to kind of state what the situation is and why we're here, and also the request that you have, I believe it's to increase the appropriation. Senator Shelton, you're recognized.
Sijis Masi, Mr. Chair, half a day, everyone. And thank you very much for entertaining this bill today in the Committee of the Whole, and to Speaker Blas for this session. We'd like to thank Governor Leon Guerrero and Lieutenant Governor Tenorio for sending this bill down to ensure that we have the money necessary for us as a department to provide the benefits of SNAP and WIC. SNAP, as you may know, is the sometimes called food stamps, formerly our program, and a WIC for women, infants, and children, their food benefits for the month of November. Due to the reality right now of the federal shutdown, we do not have enough funding within our budget to pay these out. And so I will turn it over to our Chief of Public Welfare and then to our Chief of Public Health to explain the specific situations with SNAP and then WIC. So, Francine.
Senator, just before we do that, can we also get your title and what position
Yes.
you're representing?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. My name is Amanda Shelton, Deputy Director of the Department of Public Health and Social Services.
Thank you. You have now turned over the mic to your support staff, so please introduce yourself. Let's go ahead and have everybody introduce themselves, and then whoever is going to be speaking can speak.
Okay. Good afternoon, Senators. My name is Peter John Camacho. I'm one of the deputies at Public Health, but also acting director at this time due to the absence of Director Teresa Arreola.
Hafa and good afternoon. My name is Francine Salas. I am the Chief Human Services Administrator for the Division of Public Welfare for the Department of Public Health and Social Services.
Hafa, I'm Christine San-Nicolas. I am the Bureau of Economic Security Human Services Program Administrator within Division of Public Welfare, Public Health.
Good afternoon, Senators. My name is Mike Gallo. I'm a program coordinator for and also the acting administrator for the Bureau of Nutrition Services WIC program.
Good afternoon, Senators. My name is Godfrey Wong. My position is the Public Health Nutrition Specialist from the Guam WIC program as well.
Good afternoon, Senators. My name is Catherine Angkao. I'm the Chief Public Health Officer, Division of Public Health. The WEEK program, or the Bureau of Nutrition Services, is under the Division of Public Health.
Good afternoon, Senators. Just to Senator Chalaw, he had asked for what is the story, what is going on, why we are here asking for an additional appropriation. On October 10th, we received notification from the USDA Food and Nutrition Service that instructed all state and territories to pause on the release of November benefits due to insufficient funds on their end, due in part to the federal shutdown and the passing of no budget and no resolution to continue on. As a result of that, Public Health First issued out a press release to warn our recipients that there may be a delay in your benefits. For how long, we do not know. And how long it will last, we also can't tell you. We're just told the people who are supposed to be receiving November 1st, there will be a delay. We don't know if it's day 5, day 10, as the rest of the Food and Nutrition Service who operates and regulates the SNAP program, they're all not at work due to the shutdown as well. So we are receiving little to no information, and when we do, we respond accordingly because we understand the number of people the SNAP program affects on this island. So doing an average of how much in benefits actually go out to our clients it's roughly $12 million. That's $12 million of purchases that authorized or retailers enrolled with the Food and Nutrition Service are going to potentially lose out on an opportunity for a loss in revenue. But in addition to that, these individuals who are on the program have no resources for food. When I saw this letter, I reached out to our chief for the Office of or Division of Homelessness, Assistance and Poverty Prevention to see what their coffers look like. I reached out to the Salvation Army to see what their food banks are looking at, what their pantries are looking like. And I was informed that there were quite a few people who work for the federal government who are not working right now, who are also relying on that. So we estimate roughly $12 to $12.3 million would be needed just for the SNAP program, considering for the month of November, considering the average use or how much in benefits tends to be utilized by these individuals that are currently enrolled, plus the potential and likelihood of individuals who may enroll into the program in the month of November, because now these individuals who are sort of the indirect result have no food and no reliable income because of the federal shutdown, now are eligible for SNAP. They're eligible for these programs due to a situation beyond their control. So we have been, of course, we would love to have $11 to $12 million in our coffers, but we do not. And nobody ever planned for the federal government to shut down, and these are not funds that we receive. These are funds that are directly loaded into the individual's EBT cards. And the idea of settlement of this money is directly through the federal government and our EBT vendor, Fidelity Information Services. So, here's the ask. We need money because these individuals, we need to give them some sort of benefits. We don't know how long it will last. I cannot even tell you when would we anticipate any of the shutdown to end, where there will be a continuing resolution next week. We truly do not know. And in the meantime, people are hungry and people need to get food to feed their family. We have households as little consisting of one person who would avail of $439 in food stamp benefit, but we have households the size of 15 individuals that avail of $4,891 a month in food benefit. So just to sort of understand the vast sort of groups of people and families and household sizes that we cover, there is an urgent need to get food in the mouths of these individuals come November. Yeah, that's it on my end. We are passing it down to. Sure. There is actually an increase in our asks. I initially estimated roughly $11.5 million for SNAP. However, based on a slight increase, which probably represents our October folks who are victims of the shutdown for federal, and then the potential of the more individuals signing on for SNAP and applying for SNAP for the month of November, just to account for that, because we're asking for 12.3, the full appropriation request in the bill. It was I left out our friends from WIC who need appropriation as well, but on our end, that is sort of the way the calculation and the mix came into 12.3, which is the full amount of the appropriation. But I will have Chief Ankau give you a background to WIC, and we can go from there.
Thank you, Chief Francine. For the WEEK program, because we're a discretionary fund, discretionary grant. So as early as before even the shutdown, that's why we did had a press release in October of a temporary pause of the WEEK redemption. But that only took us 2 days, and after that, on October 3rd, we resumed the WEEK redemption. We did receive some funding of about $589,306 that we were able to use to resume the WEEK redemption. And then additional funding is from our infant formula rebates, which is about $216,922. So total current funding status of the WEEK program is $806,228. As of October 22, total daily settlements for e-WEEK redemptions reached $456,940.36, with an average daily expenditure of $22,847.02. At this rate, the remaining balance we have is $132,365.64. That the Guam WEEK food benefit obligations can be stretched to up to October 26. So we did send out a press release last October 15 implementing our LEB program, which is the least expensive brand, in order for us to stretch available funding source what we have right now. But currently, with the funding that we have received from our infant formula milk and some funding of $500,000, as I mentioned earlier, we can only sustain up to October 26. So we are asking the legislature if we can be given supplemental funding to address. We're hoping that this will end by November and not until December. So for more information, I'll give it to the acting WEEK program administrator.
So some of the costs that Chief Nkau mentioned was just the food benefits. We haven't even talked about the other operational expenses. Sorry. Thank you. So we haven't talked about the other operational costs. Most importantly, labor costs, right? We've heard situations where some state agencies and counties are already going into furlough, and that's a word that nobody wants to hear. Our labor cost on a daily basis is roughly $9,000. It's about $100,000 per pay period. So we currently do have funding that will sustain us up to roughly November 12th. So if federal funding is not released, there will be a critical situation that we're going to have to deal with. So again, we're asking the legislature, please allow additional funding for these programs until the federal funding can be sorted out, I guess. Thank you. Yeah, I believe the number that the chief mentioned was 800,000.
Yes, thank you very much to the public health team and social services team. And Mr. Chair, thank you again. We cannot, as the governor has sent down this bill and asked for this session today, we cannot overstate how important these programs are to our community. The SNAP program itself, with over 14,000 households across the island, help ranging from $400 to $4,000 a month for these families. These are our people across the island who are really relying on these benefits to be able to feed themselves and their families and to sustain their livelihoods. And so we ask for the support of the body today and stand ready to answer any questions for you.
Thank you, Senator Shelton. To the right of me, I'm going to have the panel introduce themselves, and then we'll get started. Starting with Director Carlson.
Today and good afternoon, Lester Carlson, BBMR.
Buenas and half a day. My name is Gerard Toves. I'm the Deputy Director of the Department of Labor.
Good afternoon and half a day. My name is Helen Mafnas from the Department of Labor, Administrative Services Officer.
And just before we start, there was a request by a member of the body for Department of Labor, and that's why Department of Labor is here. So, Speaker Blas, I'm going to start with you for your 10 minutes on this single round.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, and thank you very much to the panel for being here. This is in recognition of right now, obviously there's a federal shutdown and that you're not getting the money that you receive. Correct. So, ma'am and Senator Shelton, welcome home. The bill asks for 12.3 million, but am I taking it right here that you're asking for an increase?
Yes, Speaker Blas, an additional amount to the 12.3, as Chief Francine mentioned. We continue to run the numbers, and we know that there are federal employees and others throughout the island who may find themselves in a difficult situation this month who go to sign up for SNAP benefits, and we'd like to have a little bit of cushion to account for those folks who may need it within the month of November. So for the SNAP program, 12.3 million, and for the WIC program, an additional $8,000. $800,000, excuse me. I know.
I was going to hold you to that.
I worried everybody. $800,000.
I was going to hold you to that. Okay. Mr. Carlson, thank you very much, sir, for being here. This basically provides that it's going to be coming from the FY25 net unobligated excess revenue. Can you explain a little bit more as to, does this money exist there?
Thank you, Speaker Blas. We provided the CRER to your office on the 20th. The CRER basically comprises the entirety of fiscal 25 because it recaps the month of September. And we collected $90.2 million over adopted levels. There was $15 million that was appropriated earlier on for a variety of measures. And we netted out the special revenue fund shortfall. Then we also took the provisions in the 26 budget that were also included that totaled 34.5 million. And that leaves us with $33,044,179 of cash that was collected in the month of September. So yeah, it's real money, and it's funding that the body has felt comfortable with over the last couple of years appropriating against. So right now, the CRER shows a net unobligated amount at $33,044,179. And if you take the amount that cumulatively, including the $800,000 that's being sought, that would leave a balance of $19,944,179.
Can you repeat that number again? 19 million?
$19,944,179. So that includes the 12.3 plus the 8. So the amendment to the bill would be 13.1 million.
Does this take into consideration, I remember there was a provision in the budget bill that basically said all monies in excess of a certain amount was going to go to another.
I don't believe it does, sir, because, well, actually, maybe it does because it says notwithstanding. So it begins saying notwithstanding.
I saw that. Okay. Sneaky.
We learn from you, sir.
No, thank you. You know, and you know, this isn't right now. There's a belief that we're not going to get past or to November without the government, federal government, coming back online, right? Let's assume that this $13.1 million is appropriated, $800,000 for you guys, or $8,000 for you guys, and 13. Okay. How long will this money last?
About a month. That is our average and our estimates, following a 3-month average of how much we issue in benefits and accounting for individuals that come in every day and apply for SNAP. It would be a month.
Okay, and let's assume that you're going to be getting this money right up, okay, the $13.1 million. Do you disperse all of that money at the first of the month, or is it as you go through the month?
No, we have actually talked to our vendor for EBT cards, and we disperse SNAP. Currently, our process is to have it staggered. So a monthly allotment would be these people who are already on the program would get their monthly allotment, and it's staggered based on the last number of your Social Security number. That's the day you get the release. So I believe it's like 1 is the first issuance on the first, and the people whose Social Security number ends with 2, it's on the second day. So it's staggered for a few reasons, but we would act the same way. We would proceed the same way.
Okay, so the chances are, let's say that it only goes up to the first week of November. Then you do get your funding. You don't necessarily need the whole 13.1 then, right?
I do not, sir. Here's the thought, because you're right. It could be the first week of November, and week 2, all the federal funds are lifted. Go ahead and load everything. Let's go. It's just business as usual. I thought about that, and I also thought about our. We're not a pool of unlimited funding locally.
Okay. And the reason why I'm asking this is, then it goes to my question is, the funding that you don't have available, when the shutdown, when it gets lifted, are you going to receive that, the fundings that we use? Is there an opportunity for a reimbursement of those funds that we utilize?
I wish I had an answer, but the people who could answer the question are not at work with the Food and Nutrition Service. But I can plan, we have a plan wherein the plan is to disperse half initially, because we don't know where we'll be come November 15th. It's Thanksgiving. So the plan is, in the total appropriation request, is to allow for us being ready to go to release the second half if the federal government does not come through and lift the shutdown. So there is a planned approach to be a little bit more conservative in how the funds are released, in order to make sure that, because we don't know if a reimbursement is possible. We haven't been told otherwise, and other states and territories are, as well as other organizations affiliated with the SNAP program, are all under the notion that there will not be a reimbursement.
Okay. Mr. Carlson, is this something that we can work out with regards to an allotment, if you will? I mean, pay as you need?
Yes, sir.
Provide as you need?
Yeah, we had this discussion yesterday, and to position ourselves as best as possible, as Francine mentioned, the federal shutdown is lifted, and conceivably we'll only spend half of this amount, and then if we needed to, we would load it in November 15th for the remainder of the month if the federal shutdown persisted. So yes, we can do this.
Okay. There was talk with regard to some provisions and some amendments, if you will, or changes to eligibility requirements for those individuals who receive these programs, and will continue to receive these programs in the next fiscal year. Will those be taken into consideration in this process? Because if there is the possibility of the reimbursement, or we have to address it. I'm the concern, it's twofold. One is are we going to address it? And secondly, is that going to be held against us if we don't follow what is going to be perceived as the new standard? Okay, and not just not get reimbursed, but then be reduced by that same amount because it was an ineligible cost at the time. Can somebody answer to that?
So you must be talking about the able-bodied adult without dependents,
Right.
Senator. So currently Guam has a ABOD waiver up until February 2026.
Okay.
So right now, as of October 1st or November 1st, they are not required to meet that requirement until the waiver ends.
Okay, so but that would hold true, that we anticipate there has been no discussion. Let's recognize that one, we may not get reimbursed. Two is we may have to pay back because we're not following a standard a new standard that has been set. Is it set in stone that waiver is still in place, or that hasn't been changed?
Yes, sir. So far, like I said, we have been notified the waiver hasn't changed or hasn't been lifted. So right now, we're still good until February 2026.
All right. Actually, Mr. Chair, that's, I don't want to turn this thing into a political thing. I'm confident that we'll go back, that the government will get back on its feet before November 1st. I recognize it's scared. I understand it and everything, but if there's a way and a provision that we don't have to bind it, and it's not, if it's not needed, it's not utilized, then it goes back in, then I'm a little bit more adaptable for that, okay? So with that, thank you very, very much. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Speaker Blas. Senator Gumatauta, you're recognized.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you to the panel for being with us today. I'm going to go ahead and start with Lester, if I can. Thanks for being with us this afternoon. Looking at the revenue source, can I ask you what portion of the general fund has been allocated to GMHA, the Guam Memorial Hospital, for expenditures and encumbrances in accordance with Public Law 38-59, which was approved last month as an additional subsidy for the hospital's operational needs, including vendor payments and facility repairs, and what is the running balance of this $40 million general fund appropriation?
Thank you for that, Senator. We had a meeting with Mr. Byrne, myself, Dr. Jolene last week, and at the time, the drawdown of the 40 was somewhere in the neighborhood of about $27 million. And there's another 2 drawdowns that are expected before the end of the month. I think we're still on track to draw down the entirety of the 40 million, separate and apart from these funds that we're talking about, by the end of the month.
All right, thank you so much. Let me direct my questions now to public health. And again, thank you all for being with us today. It's a big ask, so let me ask, what is the total number, the precise number of SNAP enrollees on Guam?
Senator, as it does fluctuate, okay, every single month, every single day, it does fluctuate. So we actually have a 3-month average of 40,328 individuals on the SNAP.
Sorry, one more time, 40,000.
328 individuals on the SNAP program.
Okay, that's your average, so 40,000 based on the
3-month average.
3-month average.
And the average number of households that we serve, so these 40,000 individuals are comprised of 14,739 households.
Okay, thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Can you answer this? What is the total number, the precise number of WIC clients on Guam today? Pregnant women, postpartum women, breastfeeding women, infant and children up to age 5.
The total enrolled participants we have as of September is 6,200 participated.
That's the precise number, 6,200
participants.
That's the number today, 6,200
participants as of
women, pregnant women, postpartum women,
infants and children,
and infants, and 6,200. Okay. This is more of a question maybe for Peter John and for Amanda. When the feds are down and you try to log on to do any work with the feds, are you even able to access any of those records? If you're saying that if we were going to come, maybe someone new is going to come in, and why I'm saying this is you're asking for us to fund it, and if the federal benefit, and you can't even access it, I'm trying to understand how are you going to track this?
Yes, thank you very much for the question, Senator. We have had correspondence with several of our federal partners across the board in public health and social services, some stating that they are part of the reduction in force and their workload when the government is to come back on, that there is another person, another rep that we will be working with, or just that they are on pause right now and they cannot communicate. I'm not sure if you've had any, Fran, a specific communication like that, but I've seen that in some of our other programs. Not necessarily SNAP or WIC, but some of our other federal grants.
And why I ask that is that other agencies that have access, that do what you're doing too, they can't even access this. So that's why I was asking, if it's 40,328, that number's probably not going to go up because you're not really able to process a claim or a enrollee, correct?
Actually, Senator, that the processing of any application is done locally, is done here. So the conduit for all the funding is through the electronic benefits vendor, which is Fidelity Information Services, known as FIS.
And that's a local contract or a federal contract?
No, it is a cooperative contract that is shared with quite a few states that contract with this vendor directly. So I guess let me just try to explain the sort of the workflow so you can get how it works. An applicant comes in, we process, we vet, we have a system here, okay? Files are sent to our EBT vendor for new individuals and closer to the tail end of the month for the following month individuals. And
that's why you mentioned earlier that November, there's some that are stuck in they're in between.
A little bit, yeah, that's where we'll be. But that information is sent to the EBT vendor. The vendor then acts accordingly. So if it's a monthly amount, they stagger it and issue the benefits or load the benefits onto the cards. So we do have access to the EBT system since that is not a federal system. And so we can activate the cards on our end. And what happens is the FIS individuals, they have the relationship with the feds for the direct funding, which is why we don't actually receive any of it here for benefits for SNAP.
So then how will they get the money if it's a new application? If it's turned off, you can't get money? What you just said was that you're going to give it, the feds are going to have to process that benefit. If they're closed, how does that person get a benefit?
We're talking about the federal benefit. So, for example, today is October 24th. If we process an application today, benefits are loaded because benefits have been approved for the whole month of October. So this new applicant will have benefits loaded into the card as of 7 or 8 o'clock tonight, which would be a prorated till the end of the month.
Okay, maybe I'm thinking of it down the road. If we get to November, that's where I guess I'm just trying to process even in my head if someone knew maybe November 1st or whatever the case might be or anything.
Yes.
That's a problem, right?
So the difference is that the contract is with Guam. The EBT vendor's contract is with Guam. So they're still answering the phone. They're still responding to us, and they are processing as such. They are on the pause end with the SNAP program, with the Food and Nutrition Service, because they are in a shutdown and they cannot, they're kind of like, they're being told to. They probably got the same letter, but in fact, we were told states are informing them of the fact that we need a pause and delay in the benefits.
All right, thank you so much. I only have 2 more questions, and it can either be Gerard or Department of Labor or Public Health, but based on the recent announcement by DPHSS to ensure that able-bodied adults without dependents effective November 1 will need to meet new work requirements to keep those SNAP benefits for more than 3 months in a 3-year period, what general information is available regarding the employment status of the estimated SNAP estimates? I mean, right now I think you have enrollees of 40,000, I think, yep, based on today, including any documented job placement or workforce training efforts. Is there any update on their employment status?
Sorry, Senator. So basically, just so you know that majority of our SNAP population are employed. Sometimes they're working 2 or 3 jobs just to kind of put food on the table. So just want to make that very clear.
So when so we're trying to get a precise number. So if it's 40,328, are you saying there's 30,000? What's the, you have
No, when we
you have a report that runs that says how many are actually employed?
Yes. So when we ran a last report for the total ABOT population, it's roughly between 500, like I said, it fluctuates between 500 to 1,000. Now, just to keep in mind that with the ABOT population, there are some exceptions that allows them to be excused from participating, right? So someone who has a disability or caretaker of an individual who's incapacitated is also exempted.
All right. Okay, thank you so much for that. And my final question is, what is the status, if you can, and this is probably for labor, of any active MOU or MOA between the Department of Labor and Public Health in support of the 2024-2027 Combined Strategic Workforce Development Plan for SNAP, employment and training program requirements, and what challenges, if any, have both agencies and your partners experienced with respect to meeting anticipated program outcomes, especially as we're getting into this change on the Fed side, any challenges that you guys are seeing, perhaps?
Thank you for that question, Senator. Right now, because of our great relationship, we over at the American Job Center, we are very capable of taking care of not only our memorandum of understanding, but moreover, just to take care of employment and training for all bodies. At the same time, we were fortunate to receive our grants because our focus is on employment and training, leading moreover to apprenticeship. So right now, from what the support we have from the government, the federal government.
So you do have an MOU or MOA with Public Health?
Yes. Go ahead.
Thanks, Helen.
Yes, we do have an MOU with Public Health. It's an ongoing MOU. We've had a partnership with Public Health for the last 20 years. And so I can tell you that out of the 356 enrolled participants under WIOA, 126 are actual individuals receiving public assistance under the SNAP program, that we're working with them, getting them sent to training programs and employment. So we have a very well working relationship with Public Health.
All right, thank you guys so much. And thank you, Mr. Chair, for allowing me to ask questions today. Appreciate everybody being here.
Senator Gumachato. Senator Burnett, you're recognized.
Sudasmasi, Mr. Chair, Biba Betness to the people of Guam. Thank you for watching our session, and thank you to the public health team for coming down, Department of Labor, and Mr. Carlson. So I guess I'll just start with you, Mr. Carlson, to check if I heard correctly. So you're saying right now we're tracking 90 million over adopted revenues. There's 33 million in net unobligated. What are we calling this again? Net unobligated excess revenues, and then minus the 13.1 million, then what would the balance be?
19,944,179.
And so they're kind of discussing allotments and do we have the capability to give public health this money up front?
As we discussed when the speaker was talking, we can, as being suggested by Public Health, provide half of the appropriation to be able to provide the assistance in the beginning part of the month, and then make abundantly sure that we only load the second half if it's absolutely necessary. So I think the suggestion about staggering and putting into at least 2 increments, 2 allotments, the funds that are being requested can certainly be done.
And who's able to offer the most clarity on this reimbursement issue? Because we're just hearing kind of different things. Meaning, if we spend the local funds to cover the federal shutdown shortfall, are we going to be able to get any of it back? I wasn't sure how clear you were on that, Ms. Francine. Thank you.
Well, Senator, I'm not super clear because we have no confirmation from our federal partners.
But you're hearing chatter, is that right, from the states?
A lot of the states and the member organizations we're part of, we're sitting in 5 a.m. meetings. Everybody's in the same boat we are in terms of trying to figure out a plan. But everybody has the going concern that reimbursement will not happen. Okay, so that's something that we take seriously as well, which is why we're thinking 2 allotments might be a little bit more conservative of approach. But also, should the federal government lift the delay and instruct us to go ahead and release, then these individuals will have had half their allotment plus their full allotment from the federal government.
And then, so I guess, Mr. Carlson, if we pass the bill with the additional $800,000 and we give half the allotment, and then kumbaya, they break bread and the shutdown ends, what then would happen to the rest of the appropriation?
If there if it's the will of the body to make amendments accordingly, if we don't have to provide the second allotment, it goes back into the general fund.
I guess there's that way, but I was just thinking when you said you wanted half up front, then would you guys be okay with the appropriation getting cut in half? Just to wait and see? I mean, I don't support that, I'm just wondering.
Then we'd have to
You
come
never
back.
know with some of my colleagues.
The only thing I just a recommendation, because November, think November 15th, 2 weeks before Thanksgiving, we're going to come back in here and ask for the second half. And that's, days before people can have opportunities to buy food for their Thanksgiving, for whatever it is their family needs to eat and prepare for their celebrations. Children are on break, so they're at home. So I think if the body is okay with this approach, you could definitely make an amendment that sort of dictates what happens with the rest of that.
Like a reversionary.
I defer to the body on that one.
So, but you guys received notification on October 10th?
Yes.
Okay, so I just got to ask, I mean, why didn't we get the call sooner? Because you said if we give you half the money, we'd come back in 2 weeks before Thanksgiving, but it took the administration 2 weeks to call us in here.
We received notice October 1st saying something may happen. Stay tuned. Then we received a notice from the USDA on October 10th telling us there may be a delay due to insufficient funds. It's not $8,000 where we can try to find it real quick. It's a different beast in that 12.3 million is quite large. And this information about a excess in funds, I believe all the elements came together at the right time to find some money. I was reaching out, we were reaching out, our plan is to reach out to our nonprofits, see what's going on, if food can happen, double your Thanksgiving allotments, but that's one day, or that's 1 week of food. And 14,000 households is what we're looking at. I mean, that's a lot of food that I think if we utilize the entire government's or the entire island's nonprofits, I don't think we can feed all these people.
Yeah.
It's just impossible.
I mean, in your opening, you talked about reaching out to some of the nonprofits, and I sit on the Salvation Army Advisory Board, and I got to say, just looking across the lay of the land, it's a difficult situation when the people who are supposed to help the people need to be helped, and that's exactly where we're at. And you know, and also, if I could ask, was there an interruption of any kind in the WIC program? Because we had gotten calls from WIC recipients who said that they weren't able to get, you know, some of the items that they normally get under WIC. So I just maybe for clarity.
Yes, Senator, that's correct. There was a temporary pause in redemption of benefits. That was for the first 2 days of the October month, October 1st and 2nd. We were able to get some additional funding, and when that funding was received, we redeemed the benefit redemptions for the participants on the 3rd.
Yes, ma'am.
So the funding that we received, that's why we resumed redemption October 3rd, was a rebate from the infant formula, which is about $200,000. And then we got additional funding that was released by OMB from Section 32. That's about $500,000. So we were able to sustain. So even before as early as when we resumed funding, we already started planning how can we able to sustain the redemption without doing a pause again. That's why we implemented October 16, advising our participants, including our vendor, let's apply the least expensive brand. So they will still, our participants will still get the same nutritional requirement that they need, but with the least expensive brand, which is similar content.
So instead of getting Skippy, they're going to get Western Family peanut butter, something like that, right? Yeah, because we did receive calls from mothers of young children, expectant mothers, and some of the requests were for formula, but then other requests were for items that aren't even covered by WIC, which just kind of shows me that, you know, people are struggling out there, right? I mean, to the tune of these 6,200 WIC recipients, and then you have 14,000 SNAP households.
Yes, absolutely, Senator. And that's why when we had the pause in WIC at the beginning of the month, we immediately deployed our Division of Homelessness Assistance and Poverty Prevention to provide food commodities at the WIC clinics so that families were able to avail of those if they were not receiving those benefits in that very short gap. However, thankfully, we worked with Lester and the administration. We were able to find that $500,000 to cover us and the rebate that came in to help us throughout the month of October. And we were tracking very closely every day, SNAP and WIC, all of the benefits to see how this shutdown would affect us. And so when we received this notice only on October 10th, that there would be a delay in benefits, we also started to explore the ideas of having to deploy DHAP again. However, I will tell you, we order these food commodities on a regular basis, and right now we have enough for 7,000 bags to feed a 5-family household for maybe 5 meals each bag. So it's not an unlimited supply that we have in the warehouse, but it's something that we have in an emergency situation. And we have been keeping the administration abreast to know what is going on. But I think we were all very hopeful that this shutdown wouldn't go this long. And this is the longest it's gone in our immediate history, that from the shutdown in 2018 or 2019, this is already much longer. So I don't think any of us were expecting to have to come here right away to ask for this money. And so we are very thankful that you're entertaining this and that the governor has sent this bill down so that we don't have to worry for the next 6 or 7 days. till we get to November if we're going to have those benefits or not. We're already prepared. And to your question about cutting the appropriation in half, I'm glad to hear you say that's not something that you want to do, because we don't want to come before you again in another couple of weeks to say, please help us to feed these families. We hope that that's something that you'll give us the room to be able to do, and put in the clause into the bill that it'll be returned if we don't need it and things go back to normal.
Notwithstanding.
Yeah, notwithstanding.
Thank you, Senator. And you know that pause in the WIC services, albeit brief, did spur kind of a conversation with the nonprofits to establish a milk bank, whether it's milk or baby formula, because that's something that we're not able to address right now.
Senator, if I might, just also for the body's information, we looked at the worst case scenario, and we knew that 14,000 households couldn't be fed by 7,000 commodities packages. But we were thinking that if it extended even further, maybe we would have to cut that portion in half, just to try to stretch it out to reach as many people as we could. So we've been spinning our wheels trying to figure out what it is that we can do. And that's part of the delay in coming to you folks, because we know that when we come before you, you're going to ask the hard questions, and our job is to be able to answer the questions.
I know I'm asking questions, but don't get me wrong. At this moment, I definitely support the bill. I mean, I'm a graduate of both of these programs. My mom was, and she was a working single mother. She worked 2 jobs, at the most 3, and then we would go clean people's houses on the weekend. And so that supplemental food stamp, and at the time it was the food stamp, the paper booklet, it was definitely supplementing my mom's hard work and putting food on the table. And I Mr. Nicholas, right, Mr. Nicholas, I'm very grateful that you talked about the majority of recipients of these benefits being working people, because there's been, and this is nothing new, a demonization of people who receive these types of public assistance. And not just in the case of my mother, there are many families who count on this, and they count on this supplemental assistance to augment and assist with whatever other income they're trying to bring in there. So, and then with the WIC, obviously we're talking about the most vulnerable, the women, infants, and children. And if you could, just for the public and maybe the edification of some of the naysayers out there, what is the eligibility? Are you able to give us like the floor eligibility and the top eligibility for, like, let's say SNAP?
Sorry, Senator. So, of course, our program for SNAP is based on income level. So again, depending on the number of individuals you have in your household that are eligible, then it's household size, and then there's a different income level for each household size.
That's on the website?
Yes.
Okay. And then
it's under construction.
Ms. Francine, you said logistically that you, or go ahead if you have the information. I still got 5 minutes. I just wanted to make you talk, sir.
Oh, okay. No worries, Senator. So for eligibility for WIC, it's also the same for SNAP. There is income eligibility guidelines. There's other things that we also require. They have to be categorically eligible. So if they're pregnant, if they're infants, and if they're children under 5. So that's the other thing. And they also have to reside on Guam. And the last one is they have to be assessed for a nutrition risk. So those are the 4 things that in order for a client to become eligible for WIC.
And what's the aim of the WIC program?
I'm sorry.
The aim, the goal.
The goal for WIC is to make sure that to have healthy families, outcomes, lower infant mortality, as well as reduce obesity in our children also.
Thank you. Worthy investments. And then, Ms. Francine, you had said logistically that you guys are able to talk to the vendor from our side. to be able to issue and load the EBT cards?
Yeah, every day. But actually, Administrator Christine, she actually had, just to get you a snapshot of the lowest income level that an individual will need to, a household size of 1, which would avail of $439 in SNAP benefits. Their gross monthly income, if they're elderly, disabled, and are separated household, you want it at $2,152. If you are just a single able-bodied person, $1,696 as a gross monthly income, you'd qualify for SNAP. So just taking into consideration the minimum wage, how many jobs are out there, like Christine had said, some individuals are working 2 to 3 jobs and still avail a SNAP because of their household size.
But yeah, I mean, our cost of living, I always say you need 2 to 3 jobs and like a side hustle. That's just to make ends meet, right? Are we tracking any, because I'm kind of surprised that we haven't heard more of this, we need funding because the federal government shut down. So is there any other area in public health or Lester across the government where we're tracking that we might need to fill some of these gaps during the federal government shutdown?
We put a call out to all cabinet members to funnel any and all information on shortfalls due to the shutdown. And we've only gotten this information to date. Most of the programs that we have, the grants that we operate under, they're not affected by the shutdown. They're grants that were already put in place, and we're thankful for that. And we don't have federally funded employees that work for the government of Guam. We have people who work under a federal grant, but they're government of Guam employees. So this is, there was another shout out this week to cabinet members to ensure that we had all the issues before us so that, if we had to expand the bill before we came down, it would be, expanded, but this is all we have so far.
This is kind of what I think some of my colleagues and I were really pushing during the budget session was, a lot of these unanticipated impacts. And at the time, we were talking about just the slash and burn of federal benefits to the island of Guam, the territories and the states and whatnot. And this federal shutdown kind of came out of the blue. So I guess I'd like to ask you to pontificate about the other shoe dropping. I mean, we're still anticipating impacts from the federal government relative to funding that have kind of nothing to do with the current federal government shutdown?
The longer that this thing goes on, the more programs will eventually be impacted. I think we can sustain a month with just this in front of us to take care of. I can't tell you what's going to happen if this shutdown persists through November into December. As you said yourself, you see people who are taking care of people having to go to avail of the services at the food bank. That's not how it's supposed to be. And I feel horrible for the people that were put into any situation not of their own doing. And I'm just glad that we're here together to talk about a solution for a significant amount of people on our island. So thank you guys for being here.
Thank you, Mr. Carlson. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair, if I may, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Could we
Senator,
get a copy of this letter they're talking about, the notification to Public Health, October 10th? And if we can all get a copy of what was exactly said, I appreciate it.
Yeah, it's being done right now, Senator Tadigui. Thank you for the request. Susan Masi, Senator Marnett, and now recognize Senator Therese Terlahi.
Mrs. Masi, thank you all for being here and for your work on these programs to feed our people. I guess for BBMR, can I just ask, is there any other source of payment besides excess funds that you can think of or have found?
Other than excess funds and to not jeopardize or impact the recently passed budget, we're looking at the excess revenues because it would not pull the train off the tracks, for lack of a better analogy. We do have, of course, money in the rainy day fund, but I think for all intents and purposes, since we have the excess revenue, the excess revenue should be our first source of funds to take care of this and preserve the rainy day fund for something that it's like a last resort kind of thing. So this is our best source right now.
All right, and if we did this, does it affect anything in the budget? I'm not sure what that speaker was referring to earlier. Does it impact?
No, it doesn't.
No,
because notwithstanding basically any excess revenue, as he was making note of, since it has a notwithstanding clause, it doesn't automatically revert to like road paving and stuff like that. Because
like what?
It doesn't automatically revert to road paving or whatever the excess revenue was supposed to be.
Where else they've been allocated to in that budget? You mean?
Yeah, that's what he was saying.
So this would come first before every other priority?
Yes, ma'am.
What about the fund balance that they used for the 40 million for the hospital? They said that was not from excess revenues, but from the accumulated surpluses since 2016. What's the balance of that after the 40 million appropriation?
It's somewhere in the neighborhood after the 40 million of about 160 million, but that's not cash.
Yeah, that's what they said before they used the 40 million. Then you guys came down and said, go ahead and use the 40 million.
Well, but see, it took us like 45 days to allow for the cash to materialize to be able to, and we're almost done with GMH, but we're not done yet. So I'm not an accountant. All I know is that it looks like a nice number, but if you wanted to like access it right away, you're not going to be able to do that. Whereas the money that we're talking about now was actually collected.
Yes, I understand. So if you recall during the budget, we were asking about this fund balance that Mr. Byrne kept talking about, and he advised us we should not ever use that because it's not going to look good on your financial statements. It looks good that our fund balance is high. And then the next thing we did was come in here and use 40 million. And you're saying we're still struggling to get the cash for that on a regular basis, but that will be paid off by the end of October?
Yes, ma'am.
The whole 40 million?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you. This reimbursement after the shutdown, have you looked at doing anything else besides paying SNAP and WIC benefits? Like, are any other state doing anything else, like paying out a different type of benefit so that it doesn't impact the reimbursement of the SNAP or the WIC in case that program restarts? To public health.
Yeah.
Anyone who can answer.
Senator, so this notion of reimbursement is very tentative. We don't know anything really about that from the federal government. We have not received any guidance. We're operating though as if no is the answer to a reimbursement should that happen. Now, we have asked some of our territory partners, island territories, we've asked our EBT vendor just to kind of get an idea of how other state and territories are proceeding. We are told that the U.S. Virgin Islands is going to cover half the costs up front in physical checks that they're going to mail. And I think that might be a logistical nightmare for us to do. when we already have a mechanism to do it and not disrupt should the shutdown be lifted and we can pay benefits, so there'd be no change and no disruption. I'm hearing some states are just going to pay for the whole thing and issue it out. Everybody has...
But when they pay it, do they call it a SNAP and WIC benefit? The other states?
That I'm unclear of in terms of how they're classifying it. It is not, because it doesn't come from the federal government, it is technically not SNAP money. It's not SNAP program money, it's government of Guam money. So at this point, I think it would just be called general assistance. And so, but it would still be the same conduit in delivery of the benefit.
Right. I'm all for delivering the benefits. I think we need to do this. I don't want to see anybody go hungry or have that stress of not feeding their families even for one day. But my question is just really a technical one between the states and the federal government and our territory. If, you know, and then that's word reimbursement, right? If we pay something out, like a SNAP benefit, is the question that they will not reimburse Guam because we've already paid it. We don't need their money, they're going to say, right? Or is it, if we paid out another benefit and it's not technically called a SNAP benefit, they're still going to give you the November SNAP money that you know, are waiting for. Did you receive October?
Yes, there have been no disruption in SNAP benefits issuance for October. We are still issuing out daily when new individuals come in and they qualify for SNAP. So if you're right, maybe the issue would be, you know, if the Food and Nutrition Services sees that we can pay for it, then they're just like, well, you can just pay for it. But that's why the local Guam measure is not, it's not funding the SNAP benefit. It is providing general assistance for the individuals who are enrolled in the SNAP program who been told they're not getting their SNAP benefit from the feds.
Yes, I like that language much better to me. I prefer that you finesse it, something like that, so that I think it would give you a better chance of getting your reimbursement or your payment for a month where we've paid partial. Is the, I know you talked about when you got notice of this. The other programs, I think so the governor and maybe the director of public health was also quoted earlier this month saying there's no impact, and Trump said he's not going to impact these areas. He also said the same about Medicaid. But Mr. Carlson said there's no impact to Medicaid. Is that correct? Is that solid?
Well, as we all know, this is a changing target every day. It may change. The notice of us, Senator Barnett said, why October 10? You just got notice. Why so late? It's the same thing. We weren't given any notice before. We were tracking everything daily to see if we're getting any sort of notification from our federal counterparts.
Okay.
But with Medicaid, there is no impact currently to date. We've received our cap amount, which is a limited amount that we receive every year, from CMS. And actually, because they're deemed essential, they're still working with us daily.
Okay, great news. But I agree with you, Mr. Carson, that after November, other agencies might be impacted where we actually get funds for people, right? Like Section 8, other things. Is the administration working on a plan for, this is just for the shutdown effects. This is not, as the former senator said, for the effects of what the bill might actually contain when it's finally passed, right?
Yes, so just because we didn't want to come down here like Chicken Little and say something and then it didn't happen. Yesterday, we were actually thinking we might have to include Section 8 because there was a lag in benefits. We were told we might have to put that it's a $4 million a month local need, and that they might need as much as 1.6 million just to get through this month, right? And then they went double-checked their math and came back and told us, no, we're going to be good for the foreseeable future. But you're absolutely correct. There are things that might materialize in the month of November and closer to the holidays, unfortunately, that we need to be prepared for. And it is an ever-changing landscape. So we did have Section 8 in here, but we pulled it out before we sent the bill down.
Thank you. I appreciate Public Health's efforts to roll out the food literally when there was a delay in WIC, and to be ready to continue to do that. Can I ask, I went to a fundraiser for Catholic Social Services over the weekend, and I was informed that their contracts have pretty much been, or several of them have been canceled. So while we are looking to them to help us in these situations, they claimed some abrupt notice of termination of the contracts at the end of the fiscal year, including, I think, those respite services and the other types of services that they provide.
Oh, yes, Senator, I think those are DSIT contracts with Catholic Social Services. Yes, they're not Department of Public Health and Social Services contracts.
What about the shelters?
Our shelter, they continue to provide service at our shelters. We are on a month-to-month basis with them, but they continue to serve us, yes.
All right. Is there a shift in public health to not partner with these nonprofits and to hire, for example, at the foster shelter, they've not issued out a contract for at least 3 years since that shelter has been open, and they've instead hired LTAs first they hired the social workers who are supposed to be doing another job at CPS to man the shelter, and now they've hired LTAs to man the shelter. I'm just asking because I just want to know, how sustainable are we in this type of endeavor? Yeah, taking care of those in need.
Senator, we are still looking to continue services with our nonprofit partners. We are very thankful for their collaboration. We would not be able to run many of our programs without them, as well as other agencies throughout the government. And we actually took an island-wide tour to several of the human services departments with Archbishop Ryan Jimenez a couple of months ago, and we'll do that again with him in December to share with him the needs so that he can take that back to Catholic Social Services to see how they can actually expand serving our departments. So we want to do that. And when it comes to the foster care shelter, we are working on it, Senator. We have every intention to put it out for bid.
Yeah, it's been years, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, it is actually at the Attorney General's for review.
All right, I checked their website maybe 3 days ago and there was nothing. So I wrote a letter to ask where it is, but all right. So yes, just because I agree, I don't think even with our best efforts, the government can cover all the needs that we have, and we cannot leave these agencies that have supported us, nonprofits, without being able to plan. So that's all I ask. It's not that anyone be favored, but that they be able to plan and to staff and to get the resources that they're going to need to take care of the same people we're trying to take care of here today. But I do appreciate all of your work and your concern and bringing this up to the level that you have at this point. And so I hope we can get this money swiftly in your hands so that you can get it to them.
Thank you. Absolutely, Senator. We will continue our partnership with the nonprofits. We want to work with them.
Cesar Masi. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Cesar Masi, Senator Talahi. Senator Lujan, you're recognized.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, I'm going to be very quick. I think this is pretty cut and dry. There's no federal money to be able to pay poor people, to feed the poor people, and we have to backfill this with local funding. But just a couple questions. Can the Governor's Transfer Authority cover this, Lester?
Senator, we just began the fiscal year. We would use the Governor's Transfer Authority towards the tail end of a fiscal year. Once we understood that all the personnel costs and operational costs were covered and that there was funding to be able to take from X, Y, and Z and apply it to W. We had just begun the fiscal year. It wouldn't be prudent to be able to use the transfer authority because you guys just passed the budget and all of a sudden we're going to turn it upside down and pull money from stuff that you guys just authorized us to do. So that would be not a wise thing at this point in time, sir.
Okay. One other question will be my last question as well. Has this been communicated with our congressman's office, and if so, what was the response to our situation here?
Sir, I personally haven't reached out or spoken to the congressman on this matter.
Okay. Has anybody from Public Health has reached out to the congressman's office and their response?
No, Senator, we haven't had a discussion about this with the congressman.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, I'm good. Like I said, it's pretty cut and dry for me. Thank you.
Senator Lujan. Senator Borja, you recognize.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. You know, again, just like Senator Lujan, it's pretty cut and dry. A lot of the questions that I had in regards to reimbursement were, you know, what some of the stipulations were. But I think my question is just more long-term. Should this go into December, then what? Like, what do we do? Is there like is there any possibility in how public health can maybe have a tiered benefit scenario in regards to, okay, the local government is going to continue to have to fund this. Is there any kind of scenario planning in regards to whether this drags out? Hopefully not till December, but should that happen, what is public health doing to, just in case? So that if you come back here next month, we're going to ask you that same question.
I think as Acting Director Peter John had stated earlier, we're operating on the same notion that even if we got the appropriation for this month, should the extension go beyond November, we would be coming back. We would have probably a stretched lesser amount, but some better than none at all. Because again, this is only in response to the shutdown and not something that's going to be forever. So we are looking at those avenues and we should have a plan. We will be obviously back to square one come November 15th. Plan's going to be out, and contingency should be in order for us to how we're going to do that. And it may affect what is released come November 15th.
That's all for me. Thank you for coming down here today. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Senator Borja. Senator Sabrina Salas-Montanani, you recognize.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you for everybody, for the panel, for coming down. And also just thank you to the governor, actually, for introducing and sending this bill down to us, because I think it is without question that my colleagues wouldn't support a bill like this, because it is truly about helping our families and putting food on the table and ensuring the dignity of our manumco and milk for our babies. And so I know this is a bill that I definitely will support. I did want to ask, though, because we talked about the whether or not the Governor's Transfer Authority could be utilized. And Lester, you mentioned a little bit about the rainy day fund. Why couldn't we use this source of funding?
So one of the things that we argue about here is like what pot of money, to pull from. We never used to have these kind of arguments because we never used to have money. So the good thing is that, you know, we're fiscally better off, and to maintain this financial freedom, because we're not struggling to make payroll every 2 weeks like we used to. It is incumbent upon all of us to be very good stewards of the resources that we've collectively built up. So, like when I responded to Senator Terlahi, I think it is the first line of revenue to be able to address this should be the excess revenue. I would stay away at all costs from touching the rainy day fund. I'm glad that the body actually put money into the rainy day fund in this budget. There was some discussion during the formulation of the budget, and ultimately monies were put in. And again, when we continue to put money into the rainy day fund, it really does speak volumes about the body's understanding that we need to have, you know, it was a Cassidy commercial, it's not if, it's when. I mean, you know, so we do need to have that. And we're talking about not just November assistance, we're here collectively talking about what's going to happen after November. So I'm glad that we have the ability to ask these questions openly, confidently, and not sheepishly like we used to, because what if, you know, it was then run and hide because we didn't have anything, you know? So that's where I'm coming from, Senator. I would take the low-hanging fruit, which is the excess revenue, and then only climb the tree as necessary, but I would take that low-hanging fruit first.
Thank you, Mr. Carlson. Back to public health, you did mention about these new applicants that you're still taking on. How many would you say, since the shutdown?
Well, like I said, Senator, the chief had mentioned earlier that how the numbers fluctuate. So when we kind of do an average of the number of new applicants, it could be anywhere from 300 to 400 per month.
So you wouldn't be able to say, since the federal shutdown, how many new applicants?
October? Oh, for October, for the month of October. Well, the last number that we ran was maybe close to 300.
300 new applicants, yes, just from the shutdown?
Well, hold on. It may be a combination. So in addition to individuals who may be affected by the shutdown, it could also reflect individuals like new COFA migrants who are covered by SNAP, new applicants coming on island, Medicaid, applying for Medicaid and SNAP, which they are eligible for when they come on island as well. So we do see, on average, 300 to 400 new applications a month in terms of administering benefits or issuing benefits to these individuals.
You mentioned that you hadn't received or hadn't had any communication with the Congressman's office regarding the SNAP and WIC programs. I do have a copy of a letter that he's actually written to the Secretary of Agriculture expressing his concerns about the possibility of the local government shouldering the responsibility of paying for the SNAP and WIC program as a result of the government shutdown. And you mentioned that you received the notice on October 10th of 2025. So then, has the Department of Public Health and Social Services had any conversations with USDA in terms of if the government is forced to shoulder these payments, will there be any opportunity or chance for reimbursement?
We send emails, but as the shutdown is happening, we're not necessarily getting any response, if any. And this is, we have a normal, we regularly email and speak to our USDA counterparts at least once a week. And so because of the shutdown, it's been radio silence from all of them except for this notice. And I think I got one email asking about a technical, how I can administer SNAP benefits through my EBT vendor. And it was just something they needed clarification on. That's it. I haven't heard, we haven't received, Christina or myself has not received any information from the top beyond this official letter. And we have not received it from our any notification or communication from our counterparts with Region 9.
Yes.
But I do want to, on record, thank the congressman for reaching out and advocating for Guam and the people of Guam and this program, because as we can tell just from the numbers we've given today, it's 25% of the population. I mean, 25% of the population utilizes this program to put food on the table.
Senator Matanani, in terms of for the week program, because we have a very strong association, the National Week Association, that we always have a weekly call. And from the last call that we have some our counterparts verifying if there's an official memo from FMS, because they received an email from their regional contact that there's a potential for reimbursement. But until this time, we have not received any confirmation, but we will be posted if there's any such. And as I mentioned earlier, we have received some funding that was from Section 32 that was shared with us with our association. So those are the things that for now keep us, looking positive. But again, we only have limited funding at this time, so we are asking if you could assist us to be able to stretch and go for the next month.
Thank you. Since we do have the Department of Labor here, I did want to ask a question regarding, are you guys planning, or what have you guys been working on in terms of, with this government shutdown? Are you guys getting calls, requests for assistance, anything?
Thank you for the question, Senator. Nothing specific that we've had calls or any specificities concerning extra assistance or subsidies of any sort. We at this time we are up and running, and we're here to assist the people with training and employment. So. We haven't had anything special. Ms. Helen?
As of today, we have not received any rapid response requests as it relates to furloughs. Most of the defense contractors have already received their funding. And so we haven't received any furlough notices as far as rapid response activities. But we are ready and available to assist with any companies should they start to do the furlough process.
I have no further questions. Thank you.
Senator Montanani. Senator Parkinson, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I've been looking at some of the other jurisdictions and how they are going through similar problems. And I noted that the Virgin Islands decided to issue checks to their SNAP recipients because they said that there would be a delay in benefits because of reprogramming they have to do. Is the plan to send our local money to the card vendor and they will load the money EBT cards, or is the plan to send checks? And have you worked out with the vendor that they can receive local funds to load into the SNAP system?
Senator, we are not doing paper checks, as that might be a logistical nightmare for 14,000 people to come and collect a check. We are, however, going to use what technology is already in place. We've spoken to our EBT card vendor. They are able to load funds. There is already a conduit that exists because we do actually give out through the EBT card local fund assistance. I think it is called general assistance. And that is the same, I think it's 84 bucks. Oh, it's about $48 a month if anybody qualifies for the general assistance. So, and that would come from the local funding. So there already is a conduit to do that and operate in that way with our EBT vendor. So something they actually recommended, and if this appropriation were approved, we would stagger, of course, half the amount of the benefits, and the EBT vendor can comply with our request.
Okay, and I heard that there was about 40,000 people on SNAP. Do you know what percentage are children under the age of 18 and persons with disabilities and the elderly? Do we have that type of breakdown?
So, taking into consideration the recent passage of the restaurant meals program and the individuals who would be eligible for that, which I think we were looking at roughly 3,000 individuals that would avail of that. So that's disabled individuals as well as the elderly who have limited access to cooking facilities or the ability to cook. So taking that into consideration at roughly 3,000 individuals, and you have about 14,000 households, doing rough math at 40,000 people, I'd say a big chunk of it is children. Again, our household sizes could be anything from 1 person to 15 people in a household. So I don't have exact numbers of how many of that is children, since it's done based on household size, but a vast majority of the 40,000 is comprised of children.
Okay, and in terms of family, do you know what percentage of those families are caretaker families or family members with caretakers? Because I know that you mentioned that a significant portion of people were working, but I was also curious how much of those people were unable to work because of lack of child or elder care.
That particular number I do not have. I do know that there are individuals, there's certain categories of individuals. They would be unemployed, and they would be a SNAP recipient because they are taking care of the elderly or their children who are disabled. Either of those two positions do exist, and we do have individuals like that. But I want to say that's not too large of a population of our people. Again, we are taking down these requests for numbers, and I'm happy to provide them to you once we obtain them.
Okay. So, just so we're clear on the consequences, what would happen if we did not pass this bill? What happens to all these people if we do not fund SNAP or WIC?
Well, Senator, they will not receive a benefit for the month of November. So again, that's 14,000 households. That's over 40,000 individuals, including disabled individuals, manamku, children, women, infant families. Our most vulnerable population will not receive any benefits, and that's over $12 million circulating in our local economy.
Mr. Carlson, you said that we can sustain a month of local funding for these benefits. Do we have an emergency plan for what happens next month if the shutdown persists into November? Because right now we're leaning on the low-hanging fruit of excess revenues. If this continues to go on and escalates, what are the tools at our disposal for us to potentially make something happen?
If nothing else changes, only SNAP and WIC have to be addressed in December, right? There's enough excess revenue to do this exercise one more time. That would pretty much drain all the low-hanging fruit. If we, as a body, as a group, as an island, understand that the shutdown is going to persist into the holidays, we really should sit down and figure out what it is that we are going to need to do to address outcomes that may arise not at the beginning, but after about 6 or 8 weeks of continued federal shutdown. What those are right now, sir, I really couldn't be able to frame that for you, but it'll be apparent as time wears on, and we probably would have to come and provide and work with you guys on a plan to address needs that we, quite frankly, right now don't understand might be around the corner.
If the local appropriation is approved, what is the timeline and process for issuing the November SNAP payments so that families do not go hungry and do not miss these payments?
Senator, we plan to follow the same schedule that we do monthly, which Chief Francine has explained. The benefits are dispersed based on the last number of your Social Security number from the 1st to the 10th of the month.
All right, and once local funds are available, will the Department of Health and Social Services lift any of the temporary WIC restrictions, potentially restoring the full eligible item list?
Senator, and out of the abundance of caution, I mean, we also let our SNAP recipients know, try to stretch out your dollars. And so if the shutdown continues, then we would probably issue the same kind of guidance to our clients, to our, whether WIC or SNAP, that please try to stretch out your dollars because there's no end in sight. I mean, that would seem to be the most prudent guidance that we can give to the community. May not be what they like, but if that's the truth, it's.
Yeah, the truth is we are certainly going through some uncharted territory with the length and some of the new practices that we're seeing from the federal government. And so I'm not sure how long this shutdown is going to last, but I hope that this temporary stopgap remains that, a temporary stopgap, and funding will continue to flow regularly. So I have no further questions, and I yield the rest of my time. Thank you, sir.
Excuse me, Senator Parkinson. Senator Perez, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and good afternoon to the panel. A lot of the good questions were asked, so just I have a couple. So Is there a need to come up with rules and regulations to administer this program that's which money is locally sourced?
I wouldn't know what rules and regulations to disperse the program of the funds other than these individuals are already have met the terms and conditions of being eligible for the SNAP program. So disbursement would take place much like their current disbursement, and they're eligible for it, and they get that they get that allotment. So I'm not sure how we would develop rules and regulations, and if the shutdown were to continue, that would mean we have a week to come up with rules and regulations, subject to, I'm not sure if there's an approval process or how in which that would be formulated.
It could be more expedited. So I know in some language it could be interim regulations, right, where it's ready to use. At least there's some sort of guidance. If you can think of there's a purpose or a need for that in this case.
I think, Senator, we are going to strictly follow the rules and regulations that we are following with the SNAP program already, to meet all of that criteria, to go through the checklist that we have to if we are enrolling new people. So at this time, we don't see a need for additional rules and regulations, especially because our team is really stretched thin, trying to track every change every day with the shutdown and ensure that all benefits are getting out to the public. So right now, no, but if it is to continue, I think we would be able to discuss that.
Okay.
I'd also like to point out that the vendor that we're using, FIS, we've used them since 2017. Public Health has a very good rapport with the vendor. I just signed off on a contract renewal for this fiscal year, I think 3 days ago. So the fact that we're working with an entity that we can communicate with and we can communicate with well bodes well for what it is we're proposing that the body consider.
Okay. In regards to transfer of money, that's all regulated pretty closely, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And the other thing is, can you explain how Guam got the able-bodied waiver? And that's until February 2026, is that correct? So can you give us a synopsis of how that we were able to get that?
So this was from 2 years ago with the ABOT waiver. So it was based on two factors. It's the unemployment rate is above the national average, and the number of sufficient jobs. That was the original waiver, and that is good until 2026.
Okay. And then there are plans to prepare for that next year, right? It's only a couple months away.
Yes, we have a draft, Senator. However, there are some change from the bill, the new bill, that we are no longer to use a lack of sufficient jobs in terms of applying for the waiver. It is now just based on the unemployment rate.
Okay, it's still higher than the national average at this point?
Yes, okay. And like I said, we're gonna submit it and hope for approval.
So to extend the waiver, is that what you're looking for?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I'm sorry. Chief Salas, you're about to say something, I feel. No?
Okay. So yes, we are going to make a concerted effort to apply for the waiver again. However, talking to other state counterparts who have a waiver, if a waiver was given specifically for lack of insufficient jobs, those waivers are no longer valid. So we actually have a valid waiver because we also, our requests included the unemployment rate that we were above. And as our unemployment rate keeps dropping, but still higher than the national average, it puts us in a different situation. So there is concern about assuming conservatively 10,000 individuals need to complete 80 hours of work a month. I'm not sure, I don't know if the jobs are available, but the requirement for work also includes volunteer work and internships and what? And any kind of in-kind services. So that all counts as long as it's tracked. So we are going to apply for the waiver, but at the same time, we're preparing for not getting the waiver in shoring up our systems in order to validate that they're meeting the requirement in order to continue receipt of the benefits.
Thank you. I mean, I wish we had Department of Ag here, because if we can direct a lot of these households to food security, right? So that could double the, I guess, the benefits, you know, jobs as well as benefits for food security for our island in general. So just a thought-free recommendation moving forward. So I think all of the questions were asked and answered. So I do appreciate the panel for being here. Thank you. And thank you for bringing this forward. I do recall when there was a pause on the benefits. It raised a huge concern. Families weren't able to provide food on the tables. And I'm very appreciative that you are bringing this to us before November. It's critical that we provide for this need, this basic need of food for our community. Yeah, it's unimaginable to think what would happen if these 40,000 individuals are unable to eat, especially at this very critical time of the year. So, thank you for coming together and putting this together. We do, you have my commitment to support this, to ensure that our people continue to eat and thrive. Stusmasi.
Senator Perez. Senator Ranking Member Tina Rose Munoz-Barnes, you're recognized.
Mr. Chair, for giving me the opportunity to speak. And I know that when we look at this measure to ensure that the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, SNAP, and the Women's Infants and Children's Program, which is the WIC, have the sufficient funds to continue providing the benefits during the month of November. I know earlier the question was asked about what if this measure didn't pass. My thought for that is the 12.3 enough? What would the separation be for the SNAP versus the WIC, right? That was one question, and maybe I could ask, I'm hoping somebody at Public Health can help me, maybe former senator, is if it didn't pass, what would be the alternative, and do we have food commodities? Do we have the food banks, food commodities? Because I want to share that November, at least for here on our island, it's the month of Thanksgiving, and I want to make sure that no child, no family member, no resident that is supposed to receive food from this program that is administered to over 14,000 households, and as said earlier by the previous speaker, 40,000 individuals, and the former senator, you mentioned that. I want to make sure that nobody is left without food, especially in the month of Thanksgiving. So hopefully you can help me at least with giving me that approach on what the alternative can be. Is this funding enough? Do we have to look at more? What's the breakup? And what about our food commodities to help out those who really need the food the most?
Yes. Yes, Senator. As the bill is right now, the $12.3 million is enough to cover our SNAP program and to cover the newly eligible people who come to sign up within the month. So the existing SNAP clients and then those who may have been a federal worker who lost their job or has not been in work, or COFA migrants who are eligible for this benefit. If they are new and sign up, that $12.3 million will cover SNAP. And then we will need an additional $800,000 for the WIC program. And so that's where the number, the 13.1 million comes in. And Senator, if we don't pass this bill, that means, like I've stated a couple of times today, that's 14,000, over 14,000, almost 15,000 households, over 40,000 individuals, disabled individuals, manamku, children, women, infants, children, who will not have food on the table in the month of November, who may go out to the food pantry or to seek food commodities. The food commodities we do provide through our Division of Homelessness Assistance and Poverty Prevention, but that is a limited resource for us since we order throughout the year. So on hand for the month of November, we would probably be able to put out 7,000 bags for a family of 5. So 7,000 families, that's not even half of the households that are receiving SNAP and WIC. So we can do a little bit, but we would not be able to feed all of these families. And of course, we have other food pantries throughout the island, and we have our soup kitchen, but we would not be able to meet the need.
Thank you very much, Senator. I literally am concerned, and when this bill, when the speaker had said that this letter came down from the governor and that we really needed to look at it, my concern was making sure that nobody's left unfed. In our community, we've always had plenty to share. And with everything being so tight, this is not new. I mean, this is happening not just here on Guam, but around the nation, and it's really hard, and nobody should be left. Like I said, Thanksgiving is in November, and this is what we share. You know, it's the bountiful food that we have to share with family, and I don't know, I wouldn't be able to rest, and I really wanted to see what we can do in unison with the administration, with this August body, to see how we can support everybody out there. It is a full community, should be a full community effort, and in my heart, I don't want to leave anybody unfed, and I know you guys are working really hard up there. I want to thank you guys for being here. I want to make sure that these numbers are right, and I know it was noted earlier that if we gave this money from the unobligated funds for 2025, could there be a reimbursement? But and if so, good. If not, do we take that risk? But for me personally, I stand from my heart to support this measure, because don't ever want to leave anybody unfed. So, Mr. Chair, I think this is really important. I want to thank you for having us in this committee of the whole, bringing all the players together, working closely with the administration and with the speaker and this body to make sure that everybody goes fed in the month of November. So thank you, and my commitment to work this bill moving forward is there. Jesus Masi.
Jesus Masi, Ranking Member Tina Rose Munya Barnes.
Yield my time back to...
Thank you. Senator Vice Speaker Ada, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Perhaps just a question for public health. Back in 2018, 2019, the shutdown lasted for about 35 days then. What did GovGuam do, if anything, to deal with that situation with the SNAP and WIC benefits?
Vice Speaker, the federal shutdown that happened in 2018 the federal government kind of knew what was happening, so they actually front-loaded the funds before the shutdown to make sure there was sufficient funds to administer those SNAP funds, so that there was no sort of gap or no break in receipt. And everybody is talking about this because historically that was the last shutdown and people planned ahead, and there was an appropriate way to address hunger with our SNAP recipients. In this particular case, I'm not privy to any conversation or what goes on in the federal government or with the USDA. However, based on what we receive with the notice that you all have, the letter that you all have in your hands now, it basically says due to insufficient funds. So I don't think there was anything the local government or public health might have done back in 2018 because we might not have had to. So that might be the difference, but just so you know, I say that with a caveat that I wasn't there in 2018, and I don't know about half our workforce here today for you if they were here as well. Perhaps Acting Director Peter John.
Well, that's good to know that back then they had the foresight to see that they were going to shut down and furlough those funds instead of just not having any funds available. Okay, I didn't have much questions. A lot of the questions were asked and answered. I appreciate you guys coming down here to this body to look for funding, and hopefully that, I know there's a couple of amendments that are being placed in, and hopefully those amendments will work for you guys and work for the people. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much, Vice Speaker. Gentlelady from Tamuning, ma'am, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm probably the last one, so that after me, you'll let you go. So I'll try and make it quick. First and foremost, thank you so much, for addressing this. Whether you did it sooner, and it doesn't really matter because it's what's happening now. And I appreciate getting the letter out to us. And I do have some amendments in there to correct some things. So one of them would be just to do some technical changes with regards to making sure it says a program in the bill itself to incorporate 2025 to ensure that we are in November 2025, certain things. And then the other amendment is the funds shall not be allocated, obligated, or expended prior to November 1st. And the reason why I put an amendment in there is by November 1st, let's just hope and continue to, light our candles and pray the rosary that this is lifted. So that some of the other funding that we appropriated to other really, really critical areas will get funded because we know that this is priority and it will take front and center. First in line will be the recipients that are desperately needed. So I'm just hoping that we'll continue to pray for that. Now, the letter that you mentioned, also another amendment I had was to allow for any kind of reimbursement. I mean, you've been saying here all morning that, we're not going to get reimbursed for it. We're not going to get reimbursed. I looked at the letter here that was October 10th. It doesn't say anything about not being able to be reimbursed, right? And then I looked at the USDA that was dated September 30th, talking about lapse of funding plan. I'm sure you've seen that, right? The lapse of funding plan. It talks about the shutdown. It talks about what's going to happen if you look at that document that came out. So as soon as September, did you receive that in September? Because I'm looking at the USDA's lapse of funding plan as of September 30, 2025. When did you receive that?
Actually, we received a letter on October 1st that did not did not necessarily address the detail of what we need to do and what we should do. It's sort of brace for impact.
Okay, so you didn't receive the USDA lapse of funding plan yet?
No, but I've seen it. And
Okay.
so I'm not saying we're not getting reimbursed, Senator. I'm saying we've received no guidance.
Okay.
Other states are thinking no. That seems to be the sort of the going concern, to start with no reimbursement and go from there. But of course, it is our approach, because we're doing a prudent approach, a conservative approach, and releasing half the benefits. In addition to that, should the funds get restored and the shutdown is lifted, we're also going to pursue reimbursement however we can.
Yeah. So
it just doesn't mean that I just, because we have nobody at the Food and Nutrition Office working to answer our questions,
right,
we all don't know.
Yeah. It's about down from 1,200 employees down to now about 100, overseeing 44, constituents, not 44 countries right now that go in directly into the plan. If you look at the U.S. Department of Agriculture's lapse of funding plan dated September 30th, 2025, I also reviewed that as well, and I didn't see anything here not requesting for reimbursement, which, hope we can have it. Like you said, you always do the worst case scenario and prepare for the worst case. But we also have to be, responsible enough to allow, that we don't stop trying to find that reimbursement opportunity, if it's there, and avail itself to be able to put back into the general fund. Now, it talked about employees just under WIC, under Department of Public Health. Are the employees under WIC, are they federally funded through a grant? All employees are federally funded through the grant. And how many employees do you have at WIC that are federally funded?
We currently have, Senator, 31 employees that are under the NSA grant. That's a federal fund. We have one employee who's being funded through our breastfeeding grant, and she's not affected by this shutdown.
So this 31, these individuals under the WIC, that funding not only pays for the the products that are delivered to the women and children, but it also pays for the salaries of 31 individuals?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
So we currently...
And it said earlier that it's going to cost about $100,000 every pay
period,
right?
roughly, for salaries and benefits.
So
that's correct.
when are you going to run out of money for salaries?
Based on our estimates, we're looking at November 12th.
For salaries?
For salaries, yes, that's correct.
So it's a whole grant that's being stopped, right? I mean, it's just stopping from there.
That's correct.
So
Yes, Senator.
November 12th, right? Okay. And then the amount that you need would be another $100,000 to cover you till the end of November, correct? So it's
right.
a set repair period.
The salary estimate was November 12th. Based on what we're looking at for the food funds, we have enough to cover up through the 26th.
Of November?
October, which is
right.
Sunday.
Okay. Just up to October?
October 26th, that's correct. Yes, Senator.
Then after that?
There are two additional rebates that we're waiting on, and those are in the amount of 200 and, sorry, my eyes aren't so good as I'm aged, 215,000. $216,000. So the one 108,000 should have been received October 15th, but that hasn't been logged yet by DOA. We're in the process of confirming with the vendor the rebate, infant formula rebate contractor, whether or not that was sent, and then confirming with DOA whether they did receive that. The other rebate, also in the amount over 100,000, 107,000, was billed October 3rd, and usually there's a 30-day time frame for them to make payment, but we have requested for advance payment, and so they did mention that they would expedite, but we don't have any
Okay, so
expected payment date.
So Mike, let's just go back to that, okay, because in the amendment that I have, everything will start November 1st. You know, that the funding will be given to public health by November 1st. I mean, to wait to the very last bewitching hour, you know, in case the federal government does lift the hold on funding. But you're saying that you're only covered until October 26th, right?
That's correct. But we are hopeful of that 109,000, the first rebate to be booked and put on the ledger by Monday, the 27th.
Okay, which will cover all the way up to November 1st.
So roughly we do about 23,000 a day.
No, let's just go back to how much. Right now, you're hoping that 100,000 will be ready for you to be able to cover until
Sunday.
Till Sunday.
For food benefits.
Okay, only for the up to October 26th.
Right.
Okay. Is there any funding at all, any kind of reimbursement to cover you until November 1st?
Well, the rebate, we are confident that it's probably in, but DOA hasn't logged that yet. And if that comes in, that's an additional 109. At 25 a day, that's an additional 4 days.
Okay, so that should cover you by November, right?
Not quite all the way through November, Senator.
Not all of November, just November 1st. Just November 1st.
Yeah. Hopefully, it should cover us all the way. Yes.
Okay, and then after that, that's when you start crossing your fingers, you know, in case.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, so now the total amount you mentioned earlier was like 800,000 would cover from. Is that for 800,000 would cover from November 1st until the end of November?
Right, at the rate that we do transactions a day, it's about 750,000 a month, give or take. We expect that might be affected by the SNAP benefits being delayed.
Just WIC. We're just talking about WIC.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, so let's stay on WIC. So, because we already know that's going to be 12,300,000 is what they need. I want to know WIC because we have to adjust this bill.
Right.
To incorporate WIC because it wasn't incorporated in here.
That's
so
correct.
Again, from November 1st to the end of November, how much does WIC need to provide the services needed, and how much does WIC need to provide the salaries that are needed?
Okay,
for 1 month. Because that's, if I'm not mistaken, former Senator Amanda Shelton, 12,300,000 will cover just for the month of November, correct?
Just for the month of November, the 12.3 is for SNAP. As we shared in the beginning, this was a number to be inclusive of WIC, but as we continue to crack down on the numbers overnight and really try to see what the need will be for additional SNAP recipients, the 12.3 is all for SNAP, and then the additional 800,000 for WIC food benefits.
Okay, so that's what I'm getting at. So 800, but you just said 750. Is that food benefits for WIC? Now, what about salaries?
Yes, so I mentioned the 750 is what we do a month.
I'm sorry, say again?
750,000 for food benefits a month. That's normally what we spend.
Food benefits only, right? It's Mike, right? It's
food
Mike.
benefit, I'm sorry.
Your name is Mike, right?
Yes, that's correct, Senator.
Okay, so Mike, it is just for food benefits, 750?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, and then salary?
With salaries, it's 100,000 a pay period.
For the month of November?
Per pay period, I believe November
so it'll be 200,000?
I think November has 3 pay periods.
So it'll be, can you give me that full amount? Because we're going to need that
So
full amount.
it'll be roughly over 300,000.
Roughly over 300,000.
Yeah.
Okay, so 750 plus the 3 is 7, 8, 9, 10. That's $1 million.
Now we do have the additional rebate, the one that was billed October 3rd, which they have till November 3rd to pay. And again, we have assurances from the contractor that they're trying to expedite payment to us, understanding our circumstances.
Okay, I'm coming up to the Director Shelton. I'm coming up with 150,000. So can you give me a number, please, that you both will agree to, that this is how much WIC needs, both for, services as well as salary?
Yes. Senator, what Mike is trying to explain is that we receive rebates from some of our vendors. So the next rebate we are hoping for very soon is $216,000, which will cover the amount for payroll.
Payroll up to what?
For November.
For November.
Yes.
So November will be covered in payroll then?
Yes.
That was my question. It was a very simple question. How much in payroll for November? So you're saying now it's covered with the
rebate. With the understanding that the rebate we will receive the rebate. Mm-hmm.
And the chances are
very high. We've been receiving the rebate.
So that all you need now for services for WIC is 750. According to Mike's, it's 750. Why are you saying 800?
It's an average, Senator. So an average of 3 months, sometimes we spend upward of 750. So that $800,000 is just a little bit of cushion.
Okay, so that is clearly all that's needed additional on top of the 12.5 million. I mean, 12.3 million, correct?
12.3 million
plus
and the additional 800,000.
Okay, I just wanted to verify that. So the money for salaries are covered. Pretty much, yep, for November.
Yes.
Okay, and Lester, do you think, I know that Senator Paris was mentioning something about, rules and regulations, and when we're appropriating to public health, and sometimes when there's a particular project that we're appropriating to, we want to ensure that money is only spent for that particular project. Do we need to create a fund within the Department of Public Health and Social Services and place that 12.3 and 800,000 into that account to keep track of it, or do we just have it commingled with what we give to public health?
It'll be an appropriation to public health that we will ensure we follow the existing contract protocols with FIS, and there doesn't need to be any rules or regulations when we're using the local funds. Instead of them drawing down, because I understand they have like a letter of credit with the federal government that allows for them to front load this. So we're basically putting the money in place of the federal government. We can track it. We will only do half of the funding to try to ensure that if there isn't a reimbursement, that we didn't put the whole thing in. And we've been assured that the vendor is very willing to be able to work with us in this regard. So all we need at this point in time, it is kind of like plug and play. I don't mean to understate that, but it appears that Public Health has done a great job in communicating the need with the vendor. The vendor, as I mentioned earlier, has a long-standing relationship with the government of Guam. So I think we're playing with people that we know and trust, and I think we're going to be okay.
So basically, we give them half of this funding amount to them. And then the second half, like in the middle of November or before, that ends, give them the next set of, or not set, but the remaining balance to them, and then you're tracking it based on, so there's no need to put it in a separate account so it doesn't commingle with public health then. There is a way to track it.
That's correct.
Okay, that was the question I had. Okay.
Senator, your time.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Ms. Masi, at this time, I am yielding my time to Senator Lujan for an update, and that will conclude the round, and then we'll be going into round two. Senator Lujan, you're recognized.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I apologize that I didn't have this information when it was my turn to speak. I just received this actually from a counterpart from the CNMI, and they thought it was important to send it to us to read it, to give us some kind of assurance and what's happening with them, because as what we're going through right now, they're doing the exact same thing. So allow me to read this. This is from the Office of the Governor, from Governor Atapang, as dated today, October 24th, 2025, to the Honorable Edmund S. Villagomez, Speaker of the House, likewise to Honorable Carl King Neighbors, President of the Senate. Subject the budget authorization for Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, SNAP/NAP program. Dear President King Neighbors and Speaker Villagomez, I am writing to respectfully request that legislative action to authorize an emergency budget provision of $3.9 million from the FY26 General Fund revised budget to support food stamp benefits for the month of November 2025. Due to the ongoing U.S. federal government shutdown, federal funding for the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, SNAP or NAP, have been suspended for the month of November per notice from USDA Food and Nutrition Service on October 10th, 2025, leaving thousands of eligible residents at risk of losing access to essential food benefits beginning November 1st. This proposed appropriation will ensure that food assistance continues uninterrupted for families, seniors, and all who depend on this vital program. And here's the important paragraph here, Mr. Chairman. It says, importantly, this expenditure may be fully reimbursable once the federal budget is enacted by the U.S. Congress. Therefore, the net impact on the CNMI's general fund will be zero upon reimbursement. Additionally, once reimbursement occurs, the $3.9 million may be redirected to address other federal fund priorities as determined by the legislature. Acting promptly to authorize this funding will help prevent a food crisis among our most vulnerable residents and demonstrate our collective commitment in safeguarding the well-being of all who call the Commonwealth home. Thank you for your continued partnership and swift consideration of this matter. Respectfully, David M. Atapang, Governor of Commonwealth of Northern Barianas. And so, again, going back to my previous question, asking whether or not we're communicating with our delegate regarding this, and they, again, highly suggest that we communicate with our delegate's office to get some kind of an assurance. I mean, this is not 100%, but it's almost an assurance, giving the legislature a comfortable, I guess, a comfortable feeling in regards to this. I mean, we all support this, but nobody has communicated with our delegate. And so we don't have any information regarding this. Obviously, they are communicating for the governor to give some kind of assurance to the legislature that this will be reimbursed. So please, I highly suggest that we communicate with our delegate to Congress regarding this. And it's important that we do so immediately. That being said, Mr. Chairman, that's it. And you want a copy of this, I can provide this for the body. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Senator, I recommend that you make a motion at this time, or even in the amendment portion, to append that to the message we'll send to the governor when we send the bill down. Governor Leon Guerrero.
Could we get a copy of that letter, please?
Yes, and we will distribute a copy of the letter to all members of the body.
Senator, can I make a quick comment in reference to that? Okay. So, Senator, we work very closely with our CNMI partners. They do not, the October 10th letter, which is kind of surprising to us, it actually isn't applicable to them because they're under the NAP program, which is very different from the Supplemental Nutrition. the October 10th letter only references SNAP directors. The normal course of the NAP program, as I understand it from our counterparts, is there is a cap on how much funding they give you. The normal way CNMI's NAP program, as was communicated to us, they were just here last month, last Liberation Day week. They had said that they issue out the funds and seek, their normal course is to seek reimbursement from the federal government. That is the NAP program and how it functions, which is different from SNAP. So that is their normal thing. They are doing reimbursement, and they have told us they do not always receive the full reimbursement that they're seeking because additional members enroll in SNAP and become, or NAP and become eligible. So there's it's a different program in a sense where they're capped at how much money they get, period, as opposed to the supplemental nutrition program that we are members of. The federal government pays for whatever benefits that we find people eligible for. It's automatically loaded into their cards.
Okay, and I understand that. I understand it. And this letter as well is not 100% assurance, an assurance that they will be reimbursed.
Correct.
However, my question again previously, have we been communicating with our delegate regarding this? And the answer was no. And so that's what I'm saying. I said we need to communicate and to see whether or not we're going to get zero reimbursement, some reimbursement, because it's helping the same type of folks that we're trying to help out. And so, folks that that don't have anything to eat or can't eat, we're doing the same thing. So I'm just saying, again, it's important that we communicate because we'll get a better answer to that. And obviously they have some good communications going on over there, and they felt it was important to reach out to me as the chair for federal affairs and attempt to answer some of the questions that we were asking of you. And so they thought it was important enough to again give this message to us and to see, again, it's not 100%, but it's something that we just need to talk to each other. Yes, and inquire whether or not we can, because again, they're doing the exact same thing today, and this is dated today. They're doing the same thing that we're doing right now. And again, we all of us support this, but to answer the question whether or not we get reimbursed or not, we don't know at this point. They don't know as well, but there's some kind of assurance that they will. And so I'm hoping that if we communicate, that we will learn even more, whether or not we can do this. And I know earlier you said you're going to continue to seek reimbursement, but if we can use any mechanism to be able to arm us with even better arguments to do as such.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I support that wholeheartedly.
Yeah.
I mean, we have no problem reaching out to our congressman to get some sort of see what kind of feedback he's been getting from the USDA in general, because I know he did pen a letter to the USDA to see if what type of correspondence or response he's getting from the heads of those agencies.
Appreciate that.
Yep.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Masi, Senator Lujan. At this time, that will conclude the first and only round for questions to the panel. I will take a short recess to dismiss the panel, and we will go into the amendment portion in round two. Masi, we are in recess. Committee of the Whole is now back in order. Senators, we have two amendments that are similar, and so Senator Bora had proffered his first, but he's currently at a function, and so I'm going to move on to Senator Tello-Taitigui amendment because it is similar. In fact, it does a few extra things, and so I've decided that I will set aside Senator Bora's amendment and now go to this amendment proffered by Senator Taitigui. And at the top, folks, you can see it as B1 4S TTT LIIP1. Senator Taitigui, you recognize.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Colleagues, again, this is on line 11, page 1. Again, a new section 2 is added to the bill to read. Section 2, federal reimbursement and reporting. It says, A, if the United States Congress enacts a continuing resolution or a full year appropriation providing federal funding for SNAP or WIC prior to or during November 2025, Department of Public Health and Social Services shall use federal funds first to ensure benefits. B, if local funds are advanced under this act, DPHSS shall reimburse the general fund within 5 business days after federal reimbursement is received. C, within 30 days of November issuance, DPHSS shall provide a public report to El Legislature in Guam detailing the total number of households served. 2, the total amount of benefits distributed by the program. And 3, any federal reimbursements received or pending. And of course, and if for legal or clerks to make any technical amendments to this amendment. So it's self-explanatory, Mr. Chair and colleagues, and I humbly ask for your support.
Senator Taitigui, on the Taitigui amendment, would anybody like to speak on the Taitigui amendment? On the Taitigui amendment, anybody wish to speak?
Chair?
Yes, ranking member.
I just want to make sure that the author of the amendment stated it clearly in A, and shall use federal funds first to issue benefits and not to insure.
Senator Taitigui, would you yield to the clarification?
Just to make sure that it's the word issue and not...
First to issue benefits. Yes. I'm sorry. Yeah, my bad. Yeah.
No worries.
Ensure.
I just wanted to make
issue
sure.
Benefits. First to issue benefits. Yes.
So that's issue is what she wants to utilize. Okay.
Right.
So I don't have a problem with this, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Masi. On the Taitigui amendment, Senator Burnett, you're recognized.
Yes, Masi, Mr. Chair, I just wanted to speak in support of the amendment, and just for clarification, I don't know if there are 2 versions going around, but my version says shall use federal funds first to issue benefits, Mr. Chair. But I also want to just commend the good author for Tamuning for expediently addressing a lot of the issues that were brought up during Committee of the Whole. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Senator Barnett. Senator Taitigui, is this the amendment that I just read out? Is that the version that has been passed out?
Yes.
Yes, okay.
Yeah.
So you're clear on that, and is there need for any amendments? Okay. Anyone else on the Taitigui? Senator Montanani, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I also rise in support of this amendment in terms of it ensuring that if there's federal reimbursements, it goes back to the government of Guam. But also, a letter was presented earlier regarding the CNMI. And as I mentioned earlier, there was a letter that was written by the Congressman's office. I know there were questions about whether he's been engaging in this. And I sent it to our group chat, the Committee on Health, that the Congressman has written a letter to the U.S. Department of Agriculture seeking federal reimbursement should the government of Guam have to shoulder the burden. And if you would like, I can also request a copy to be presented to all our colleagues. But again, I do rise in support of the Taitigui amendment. Thank you.
Senator Montanani. On the Taitigui amendment, anybody else wish to be recognized? Hearing and seeing none. Senator Taitigui, would you like to close?
Yeah, just short, Mr. Chair. I thank my colleagues for this. These amendments reflect not only good policy, but it's also doing what we need to do, and that's help those who are desperate need right now and of food, to put food on their table and to ensure babies and receive their formula, and that our manamko, can afford groceries too as well. So I kindly ask my colleagues to consider this and support it. Thank you.
Chief Sponsor, Senator Titague. On the Titague Amendment, are there any objections? Seeing and hearing none, Titague Amendment passes. Senator Titague, after having spoken with Senator Borja and the passage of your amendment, he has agreed to have this withdrawn. Would you please make the motion to withdraw the Borja Amendment?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to withdraw B1 4S VAB L11 PH1 introduced by Senator Borja on line 11, page 1.
Excuse me, Senator Titague. On the motion to withdraw Senator Borja's amendment, are there any objections? Seeing and hearing none, the amendment has been withdrawn. Senator Titague, once again, you are recognized. Colleagues, this is Senator Titague's amendment as enumerated on the top left corner. B1 for S, TTT, L9, P1. Senator Titague, you recognize.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair and colleagues, it's very simple, just making some adjustments here. So let's start. It's section 1, and it reads, notwithstanding any provisions of law, the sum of $12,300,000 is appropriated in fiscal year 2025 net obligated excess revenue to the Department of Public Health and Social Services. And then I incorporated solely to pay the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, SNAP benefits, and Women, Infants, and Children, WIC, program benefits for the month of November 2025 was included in this too as well. And that's to ensure we are talking about 2025. And of course, you know, further up when I put solely, as you know, when I was talking with BBMR, I just wanted to ensure that when money is being commingled with another agency for another project, if it doesn't have a separate account, then we have to be accountable for it. So I want to ensure that this money is going solely to the SNAP program and the WIC program. So that's why solely was there. And then after November 2025, which I incorporated 2025 to all eligible beneficiaries, then I incorporated the funds shall not be allocated, obligated, or expended prior to November 1st, 2025, except for administrative preparations necessary to ensure timely insurance. So this, Mr. Chair, like I said earlier, we're saying the rosary, we're lighting candles, we're doing everything we can to ensure this shutdown, you know, it's halted, and that this funding can come not to only our, you know, island and even the CNMI, but all the other states, all people who are relying on this program to put food on their table, to feed their children. We are all hoping that this will be lifted very soon. So what I'm doing here is just to ensure that by time November 1st comes along and that shutdown is still in place, then we move forward. But right now, I've asked questions about WIC. I've asked questions to, well, my colleagues did, questions to Public Health and Social Services on what they have to, you know, hold them over. So the month of October is held over. We're not worried about not being able to cover October. So we will start in November. And I think by putting that timeline there, it's important that that's exactly the amount of money that we're going to implement to cover is November. So anything before that, Mr. Chair, is not allowed. So it's just keeping that road straight and being able to cross our T's, dot our I's, and to ensure that the money is spent properly, solely for SNAP and WIC. Okay.
Cedus Masi, on the Titague Amendment, Senator Burnett, you're recognized.
Cedus Masi, Mr. Chair. I commend the author's work on the amendment, but I had a question on the new language that says the funds shall not be allotted, obligated, or expended prior to November 1st, 2025, except for administrative preparation necessary. Okay, so that's what I was wondering, sir, is administrative preparations necessary to ensure timely issuance. I just worry that, you know how the old song goes, the first of the month, right? So I want to make sure that they can deal with the vendor and get these cards loaded prior to November 1st, because it kind of sounds like they issue the benefits on the 1st and then there's a little staggered issuance. So I guess my question to the author, does she feel the language is strong enough to, or works to allow public health to actually work to issue these benefits and get that legwork underway so that they are issued on November 1st?
Senator Tadigui, do you so yield?
Yes, I do. Thank you for that question, too, because I had that same question to Mr. Carlson before he left to ensure that this amendment was okay with him. And he says, not a problem. They have a great relationship with the FIS. You know, all information and data will be given to them. And then they, like he said to all of us, that relationship, and he just signed a contract, I think it was 3 days ago, I believe he mentioned that too, that they trust that all the information and data will be given to them way in advance. And in the event that the money is then deposited in on November 1st, if there's any delay, it would be 1 day, but that 1 day would be covered the next day. So let's say on the 2nd of November, right? When they do get the funding, it will cover the 1st of November with no problem, but they don't see a delay.
Question, Senator Burnett.
Yeah, so just to clarify, you're saying that there may be a delay, but that if there's a delay in the issuance of the benefits, it would basically be back paid?
Yes, but only 1 day.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't. If it was longer than that, then you know whatever they need to do. But again, that one section that was read, except for administrative preparations necessary to ensure timely insurance. So I don't even think they're going to miss a beat.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And again, I support the amendment, and I thank the good author from Tamuning for yielding to my inquiry. Sidus Masi.
Sidus Masi, Senator Burnett. Senator Montanani, you're recognized.
Yes, I just had a point of inquiry also for the sponsor of this amendment. I do support the amendment, but just wanted clarification on the amount. It says 12.3 million, and we heard from Public Health regarding the SNAP and WIC programs, and they said that it was 12.3 million that they needed for SNAP and $800,000 for WIC. So in total, they needed 13.1.
Yeah, Senator, I think I can handle that. The Speaker has an amendment that's coming up next that will address the increased amount.
Okay.
So this will just clean up the issuance, and then the next amendment will handle the additional appropriation.
Okay, thank you.
Does that satisfy you?
Yes.
Thanks. I just because I have my stack here and I went through it already, but all good. Any other comments, Senator Montanani? You're good? Okay, thank you for your participation. On the Tadigui amendment, anyone else wish to speak? Senator Tadigui, would you wish to close?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I thank my colleagues in the comments that were made earlier, just to ensure that, like I said, you know, that we don't skip a beat, and if we do, hopefully it's just one hiccup, you know, from 1 day, but I was assured that because of the FIS system in place and the reliability of this company that they've been working with and even proven themselves as being reliable was good enough for me. But like I said, this 12.3 and then of course an additional 800,000 later on in another amendment is strictly for November. And we got to make sure that it stays in that lane. So thank you, Mr. Chair.
Susmasi, Senator Tadigui. On the Tadigui amendment as clarified, are there any objections? Seeing, hearing none, Tadigui amendment passes. Speaker Frank Blas, you're recognized. And once again, folks, just so we're clear and we get the number out here, this is the Speaker FBJ amendment B1. 4S, FBJ, L4, P1. Mr. Speaker, you're recognized.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, in recognition of the amendment that we had just passed, I just want to make sure that my colleagues recognize that this amendment provides, it was the language provided prior to that amendment, so it's just recognition that those amendments are still in play. Furthermore, I think that this is, it calls for a bifurcation. My amendment, I'm going to call for a bifurcation of it so that we can handle both sections separately to make sure that it doesn't get confused. My first amendment, Mr. Chair, is recognizing, and of course, as was the concern that was brought up by the gentle lady from Agate, is the amounts that was talked about. They needed the $12.3 million for SNAP and then the additional $800,000 for WIC, which comes out to about $13,100,000. Furthermore, there was a conversation from Mr. Carlson that they can basically provide the funding as needed, so that if in case that there is already the shutdown is ceased and funding is released, it's not necessary for the full amount. That the language then that I proffer is to remove $12,300,000 and change it with up to $13,100,000 for that purpose. So that's the first part of my amendment.
On the Speaker Blas amendment, anybody wish to speak? On the Speaker Blas amendment, anybody wish to speak? Seeing and hearing none, Speaker Blas, you may continue. I'm sorry. Ranking Member Tina Rose-Williams Barnes, you recognize.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, I just want to say I stand in support of this effort, and listening to the body of the panel that was up earlier, wanting to make sure that the resources are given to both the SNAP and the WIC program. So thank you to the speaker or the author of the amendment for making this happen. So, Sinamasi.
Siusmasi, Ranking Member Senator Tina Rose-Williams Barnes. So on the first portion of the amendment by Speaker Blas, everybody concur? I see that. Speaker Blas, you continue on your amendment.
Okay. Secondly, is the amendment provides that change out the language from this appropriation shall not lapse and shall continue to be available until fully expended. Replace it with language that says this appropriation shall be available until fully expended or until the federal government shutdown ceases and funding for the programs are released, whichever is first. So that way we're recognizing and going back to up to the $13 million if it is not necessary and the monies are expended, are brought in, that the remainder goes back into the excess funds, but it is available to them in case it doesn't, that does not occur.
On the standby. So on the second portion of the bifurcation of the amendment, anybody wish to speak? On the Blas amendment as bifurcated second portion. Seeing and hearing none, Speaker Blas, you may continue. Speaker Blas, can I ask you then on the completed amendment as you either close or just add some additional language? Because of the bifurcation and the previous amendment, could you make a motion for legal and technical corrections?
Yes, sir. First off, again, the amendment, first part is to change the language so it's up to $13,100,000. And then the second portion is to change out the last sentence, and then now the sentence to read, this appropriation shall be available until fully expended or until the federal government shutdown ceases and funding for the programs are released, whichever occurs first. And then to allow the clerk to make and leave counsel to make the technical corrections where necessary.
Does that conclude your closing?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so the amendment has been completely heard. On the Blas amendment, as bifurcated and as recommended for legal and technical corrections, are there any objections? Seeing and hearing none, the Blas amendment passes. Colleagues, that concludes all of the amendments that were in the drive. That concludes round two. I don't need to take a brief recess at this point, but I will mention that are there any comments outside of the amendments on the bill? Seeing and hearing none. Vice Speaker, can you make a motion to report back to the committee?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, I move that Bill number 14-S, as amended in the Committee of the Whole, an act to appropriate the sum of up to $13,100,000 from fiscal year 2025 net unobligated excess revenue to the Department of Public Health and Social Services to fund SNAP and WIC for the month of November with the recommendation of the Committee of the Whole to be placed in the third reading file.
As amended, correct, Vice Speaker?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
On that motion, are there any objections? No objections, so ordered. Vice Speaker, can you get us to rise out of the Committee of the Whole?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move to rise from the Committee of the Whole with the recommendation that Bill number 14-S, as amended in the Committee of the Whole, be placed in the third reading file.
On the motion to rise from the Committee of the Whole, are there any objections? No objections. We are now taking a recess as we rise from the Committee of the Whole and report back to the Speaker. We're in recess.
Legislation back in order. Senator Duane, you're recognized.
Susmasi, Mr. Speaker, and thank you. I wish to report back to the body after deliberation on Bill number 14-S as amended in the Committee of the Whole, the recommendation of the Committee of the Whole to place on the third reading file.
On the motion to place in the third reading file, Bill number 14-S, are there any objections?
As amended.
To move it to the third reading file?
Correct.
Are there any objections? Hearing, seeing no objection, motion carries.
Thank you,
Duenas,
Mr.
you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, notwithstanding the House rules, I move that we proceed to the third reading file to act on Bill number 14S as amended without engrossment.
On the motion, notwithstanding the House rules, that we proceed to the third reading file and vote without engrossment, Bill number 14S. Are there any objections? Voting without engrossment. Are there any objections? Hearing and seeing no objection, motion carries. We are now on item 18, consideration of the daily file. Bill number 14S. Clerk, please read the title.
Bill number 14S as amended in the Committee of the Whole. Introduced by Committee on Rules as requested by Emeka Hagen Guahan, the Governor of Guam, in accordance with the Organic Act of Guam. An act to appropriate the sum of up to $13,100,000 from fiscal year 2025 net unobligated excess revenue to the Department of Public Health and Social Services to fund Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, SNAP, and Women, Infants, and Children, WIC program for the month of November.
Roll call.
Vice Speaker Atta. Vice Speaker Atta, yay. Senator Barnett. Senator Barnett, yay. Speaker Blas.
Again.
Speaker Blas, yay. Senator Borja. Senator Borja, yay. Senator Calvo.
Mr. Speaker, at this time, I make a motion to excuse members not present.
On the motion, are there any objections? No objections, so ordered.
Senator Calvo, excused. Senator Duenas. Senator Duenas, yay. Senator Gumatao. Senator Gumatao, yay. Senator Lujan. Senator Lujan, yay. Senator Munya Barnes. Senator Munya Barnes, yay. Senator Parkinson. Senator Parkinson, yay. Senator Perez. Senator Perez, yay. Senator Salas Matanani. Senator Salas Matanani, yay. Senator San Augustine. Senator San Augustine, excused. Senator Taidagui. Senator Taidagui, yay. Senator Terlahi. Senator Terlahi, yay.
Bill number 14S received 13 yeas, 2 excused. Bill number 14S is duly passed by the body. The floor is open for a brief extension of remarks. Okay. Are there any announcements other than we have our trunk or treat event tonight with our children, with those children that are invited? No others. Majority Leader Senator Lon, you are recognized, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I move to adjourn this fourth special session.
On the motion to adjourn this fourth special session, are there any objections? No objections, so ordered. We are adjourned.